Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Good morning, everybody. Nick here. It is April 15th at 8:30 a.m. EST, and we're taking a look at silver right now. And this is quite the uptrend that we're seeing. This one just keeps going up and up. I mapped it out, of course, on the Monday show, and it's more or less going as planned. And so I just wanted to kind of follow up with this and take a look at what the trade could be. Take a look at the algo stack, see if it's going to continue. Whatever we think is going to happen, we'll go ahead and take a look at it. Before we do that, though, take a look in the description. There is a free, it's a video in there where I show you how to build the ingredients for an AI trading agent. Right? It's the algorithm that goes into the agent, and it's really easy to do. The video is very fast, and I show you how I turn that algo into code. And I show you the tools that traders use to connect that code to their broker so it can trade for them when they're not even sitting at the computer. Of course, you have to optimize the code before you do that, but otherwise, it's pretty easy to do. Even the optimization, it's pretty simple. We teach you how to do that at Algo Factory, so click on that and give us a like and a subscribe. Helps us out. So silver, of course, we'll back up here. We'll take a look at what happened all year. We had this monster year or two with silver. 2025 in particular was just massive. Big move up. We had the big pullback. We had some slam downs. The Iran war had a lot to do with that. And of course, what ended up happening was the COMEX did some manipulations on this. But the reality, from what I'm hearing from V the Gorilla, who is the other half of Algo Factory, and he's got boots in the ground when it comes to the metals world. And he said that the physical market continues to buy despite price heading down like this. And you can see that there seems to be a floor for silver at about $60. You had a bounce at 64 there, another one right at 60 or just above. 64 happened at the first kind of crash, if you will, back in early February. We got 64 in 23 March, and price just continues to grind upwards after that. And this is a very steady move upwards. So however this might play out is going to depend on a lot of things. The word is that a lot of the paper traders, the futures traders, those who trade on the COMEX, not the people who buy physical metals, but the people who are making money in the financial markets with precious metals, took their money out of precious metals and went to go play in the oil market, which of course was massive and probably still is pretty volatile due to the Iran conflict, right? So that's a lot of the reason why the wind got taken out of silver. But quite frankly, silver went from like, just in 2025 alone, it went from $27 up to $120. I mean, that's like a times 4 or better. So you're going to get some pullback on that. And if I thought silver were going to continue down, I would say a good place for me to consider buying it would be $55. I just don't know that it's going to make it there. And it's been on a steady move upwards. So we'll take a look at some key levels here. The silver would have to pass in order to become a little bit more bullish. And the key level here is $96, right? You had the high at about $121, and then you had this $96 bump on the way down. And if silver were to make its way up to that, then we would be looking at what probably would be heading up this way. Well, I mean, the Atlas crypto, the Iran war might, for all intents and purposes, be over. But you know what's going to happen, though, is that they're going to continue to mess with oil, and you're going to get these, this is, this country just dropped a bomb on another, and there's going to be skirmishes, and so far, effectively, it's over. But we'll see. I mean, they say the ceasefire is fragile. What I can tell you is that boats are moving through the strait, although it's not as many as before. But what people don't understand is that the boats continued to move through the strait, just not all of them, only certain countries, only if they paid in yuan or crypto for a while. Now that's kind of loosening up a bit. Is it over? Maybe it's over. I mean, there are some key thoughts on that came from V's private equity guys, but let's just say it's definitely winding down, and let's hope that it continues to wind down, right? We'll leave it at that. We don't really know exactly what's happening. If you want to believe the news, believe it. I believe rather people who I trust, and I'll go from that. I don't want to release too much information that we give to Algo Factory pay clients, right? That happens in the live lab, or in the private live lab, which starts in a few minutes. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that. In the meantime, Yeah, silver's got to get above 96 for it to have a chance at hitting 121, which sounds like a really obvious thing to say. Of course, it's going to have to do that. But what I mean by that is silver could bounce around and look strong, but it could also reject below 96. That could happen, right? But if silver breaks above 96, then what you're probably going to see is a strong move up, right? It might kind of relax, but it's going to have a much higher probability of going over 121 very quickly than if it doesn't break below 96. So it could actually play around below 96 for like a long time, right? It could just kind of bounce here, do this, do that, do this, do that. But once it crosses 96, the chances are pretty good that it's going to rush up pretty high. So whether it crosses sooner or later, that crossing of 96 is like, okay, this is probably getting really strong and it's probably going to move up really fast. That's what that means, right? That's how it's to be understood. And gold is the same. Now, in the meantime, how does one trade silver? Well, if you're trading silver, it's metals don't have a ton of volatility right now. I'm not trading metals at all right now, but if I were to do that, I just would look at this trend. It's really simple. You have a very simple higher high and higher low look. You have your higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. It's an uptrend. So I'd look for this higher low. And there's a couple ways to figure out where that's going to happen, but there's a good chance it'll happen right around $75. It might be, not exactly 75, but that's probably not a bad place to look for price to bounce. But if you do see silver bounce a little sooner than that, then it might, of course, happen. Use your algos, use your discernment. Thank you, Atlas Crypto, for coming on. Appreciate you, man. Or woman, I forget if you're male or female. I want to be polite about that, but we do appreciate you and the comments. So that said, yeah, I would look for a bounce on this. Now, of course, you could try to short the silver, the little move down. In an uptrend, that's a counter trend play, and it's already pulled back a bit, right? It's already in that move. So there's a lot of profit already taken up in that pullback. So I wouldn't do that. What I would do is, personally, I would look for the bounce here. And there's a couple ways to determine where that bounce might be. This is the way that I like to do. I like to add this to part of the data, right? I use like multiple data points, but the fixed range volume profile is going to give us some clues, right? And it's usually going to bounce. It's going to be attracted to areas where these bars kind of come out. It's going to be attracted to something like this, right? Maybe like this. There's quite a bit of volume down here, and it's going to want to reject at the areas where there are not bars. So it's going to be attracted to this area and then want to reject off of that. So some key areas where that might be is maybe like, I'd say, let me move this guy here. Like this area right there, it might bounce there, and it might bounce right here. There's no little empty area there. And a very empty area is down here. This is a very broad empty area with no price action, or with no volume. So look for price to bounce at one of these three levels. Again, your algos also should be helping you out with that. I think this 75 area, 74.30 to 75, basically. I think that looks like a good spot for this to rock down to and then bounce up. That might be the way to trade silver. So, I'll mark this out. Of course, this may not happen, but this is a pretty good little trade plan. And then how would I get a target on this? Well, I'll show you. I'll do a Fibonacci extension, right? So we'll get our Fib tool out. And I'm going to go from the bottom to the top of this impulse right here. Not the cleanest impulse, but it'll do. That's the impulse. So I do bottom to top in the Fib. And then the next level up is going to be 86. So I'll probably go just below 86, like 85.90 or something. The real number is actually 86.30. So if you really wanted to push it and go to 86.15, that's like the absolute highest I would go. That's a beautiful trade. That's a big trade because it would be counting on a deep, deep pullback, right? So now if it didn't pull back that far, if it only went to like right here, then you're probably going to catch it a little bit higher. It's still a 3-to-1, but whatever the case is, I'd have the targets, right there. Right about, I would personally front run 86, so it'd be like 85.80. That's how I would do it. I like to front run the round numbers. So But that's the silver trade. Whether it goes down to here or if it comes down to here, I take advantage of a deeper entry. Of course, higher entry. Either way, though, I mean that's a 5-to-1 if you can grab that. If it happens, the price has to go there, but that's the plan. So that being what it is, that's a look at silver today. See how much time's left. We're pretty much here at the end of the private live lab. Lisa, thank you for coming on. Love to have you watching with us. So thank you, Lisa. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the private live lab. So take a look in the description. There is it's an ingredient to your AI trading agent. It's the Algo ingredient, right? It's just the engine of the trade. And it's a very quick and easy video. And you just watch that. I show you how I build that engine. I show you how I turn it into code. And I show you the tools the traders use to actually plug that code into their exchange so it will go ahead and trade for you. And that's how the AI trading agent works, right? Now, of course, you have to optimize that code for whatever you're trading. You don't just plug it in and let it go. But otherwise, that's all you have to really do. So thank you all for watching. We're going to go to, like I said, to the private live lab right now. And we'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, at 8:30 a.m. EST, as we are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And don't forget.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. You're not going to die. We love you.